Good afternoon, this is Steve Stratford, and I'm here with Dustin Focht, and we're here to address what we feel should be every producer's concerns about the beef checkoff and how the average cow-calf man and stocker operator is getting represented by the funds they pay. Dustin?
You bet, Steve. Thank you. And folks, it's an honor to be here in front of you first and foremost. And I think all of you are in the same situation that Steve and I are. We are concerned morbidly about where we are in the state of livestock production and the American cow-calf producer and the American rancher. And we want to come to you today and maybe share a little bit about maybe some topics, build maybe a little bit of a foundation on what Steve and I do and how the markets that we are involved with, the transparency, and how actually business is conducted. And that's kind of one of the main reasons I think we wanted to visit with you a little bit about today, and also to really open up some dialogue. We wanted an opportunity to field your questions at some point and maybe get mutually agreeable ideas and try to move forward just to remain sustainable and viable as an industry. And I wanted to start with this country over the last couple hundred years. When you look at American cow-calf producers and the American rancher, the roles that they've played in building communities and the structure that they've presented for generations that follow them. Most always, you look at ultra-conservative stewards of the land, people who are faith-based, who create an environment to make certain that their children have opportunities that they were given. And I think all of us, I know I speak for Steve and myself, we've got children. We more than anything want to leave something to them, and we'd hope, I think all of us hope and pray that maybe it's something to do with living off the land or providing a protein source for people that we know is genetically superior. So I think as we move forward, I want to start there, and I know Steve's, you've seen his videos in the past, and there is no better person. I get the great opportunity to work with him every week. He and I, this industry is really vitally important to us. So we want to take this as an educational opportunity. We want to learn from you all as well, but we do want to share a little bit with you about what we do and how we do it and how those cattle are brought to our facility and how we handle them and then ultimately how we market those. So Steve, anything to add to that, or you want me to start with just what we do when they call you?
Yeah, I'd say you covered all the bases. I mean, we work every day, as auctioneers, order buyers, sale barn facilities to present the cattle to do the best for the customer, and we expect feed yards to come in here and actively bid on those cattle and in a competitive environment. And we've got to address, on the other end of that, there's no competition. So, we've got to find the avenues to restore that competition.
And I think to elaborate on what Steve is mentioning, one of my heroes in this world, Mr. Pat Goggins, always talked about competition. How do you ascertain true value in the finest horses, the finest automobiles, rare art? It was through auctions. It was through competitive price discovery. It was a transparent market to where everybody was on board who knew exactly what was transpiring. And let me take that a step further and talk a little bit about the rancher and what it takes for him to get his product here. Some of you may or may not be cow-calf producers. Maybe we're touching a group of you that are consumers only who may enjoy our product from a retail avenue, and that's perfectly understandable in these video settings. And I want to share with you a little bit about a cow-calf producer. I'm a cow-calf producer. Steve's a cow-calf producer. When we invest the time and the labor and the sweat equity to get a product market ready, whether it's a calf, whether it's a yearling, there are certain things that we can do to add value. When you as a producer call Steve and say, Steve, I've got cattle here that I think are market ready. Can you come up with a strategic marketing plan for me? That's when Steve's hat changes from a cow-calf producer to a market professional. And let me take that a step further. When you deliver those cattle here, Steve's job as you offload those cattle is to attain a value. When he steps up and looks at those cattle, he's trying in every ounce of his being to maximize your income potential. And what I mean by that is when those cattle hit the ground here, he's trying to find every avenue to add value, how he's going to sort them, how he'll color them. Those are strategic marketing options and plans. As a livestock marketing professional as himself, that's what he wants to do, again, to maximize the potential for you as far as profitability. We get to sale day. That's when I come in and as a livestock auctioneer, now remember, as I talked about being a producer, I'm always going to have that hat on, but as the day progresses and as far as the sale is concerned, my job at that particular point in time is a sole representative of that livestock producer. Okay. Now, the night before sale day or the morning of sale day, Steve's hat changes and he becomes a representative of his customers as far as being an order buyer. He has a strategic plan on those orders, and there's sets of parameters of what he needs to buy for his customers, and they need to fit in that criteria that's already pre-established. Okay. I love Steve. I work with him every day of every week. We have a conflict of interest at that particular point in time. And let me share why. Again, as we take a step back, I'm working for the producer. My job is, again, to maximize every opportunity I have to evaluate and create momentum as an auctioneer, to create enthusiasm, to get competition, to ascertain true market value. Okay? That is our job as livestock marketing professionals. Now, at the end of that transaction, and I, as an auctioneer, have to understand one thing. That livestock producer, he may have a year of work and labor and expenses to get that product to me and market ready. That's a very humbling task as an auctioneer. It requires a tremendous amount of trust. We do it in a transparent setting. Everything is open. It's online. There are feeder buyers. There's representatives that have every opportunity to compete for that product. That's the service we provide. Now, for doing that, when we market those livestock and he gets up out of that sale arena, he can walk into that office in a matter of minutes and he's got a certifiable check. He can take it to the bank, he can deposit, he can cash it. But there's a couple things missing from that check. One of which we've earned. We call that commission. That commission that he pays us is not only for the marketability of his cattle, but it's also to create those value-added opportunities for us to market them to those prospective buyers. And there's something else that comes out automatically deducted from that check, and it's $1 per head checkoff funded deduction. That's, again, where Steve and I want to talk to all of you folks today about, is that money being utilized to represent our voice? And if it is, how? Is it being directed towards the avenues where we feel like it's to our best interests? If not, how do we address that and how do we move forward? That's the things that Steve and I would like your input on. That's the reason that we're coming to you today, to give you the opportunity to share your ideas. As we've heard over the last several days, I've had a lot of people ask me for my comment. I've heard from producers, I've heard from order buyers, I've heard from a lot of people about the cattle industry as a whole, from the producer side, having a tremendous amount of bad ideas. And those are resurfacing, I guess. Now, I've not heard that before, and this is a new one on me. If we do have bad ideas, how about we create some good ones? Or how about we're told, if somebody's going to be critical of us and state that we do have a tremendous amount of bad ideas, give us an idea what a good idea is, and we can move forward and all try to strategically pull together and realize that the industry that we so love is being ambushed from a lot of different areas. We've dealt with, over the course of the last 90 days, our country has dealt with a pandemic which has been devastating to a lot of economic factors and economic situations. None any more severe than the ag industry and cattle production in general. So I'm going to let Steve touch on a couple items, and then again we're going to just kind of start again to ask all of you about your input, because we're going to come to you in the next week to two with maybe some ideas that we'd like your input on. We think it's time now to get the reality out as far as, is the beef checkoff working for us? Because now's the time, I feel, I think Steve does as well, we need to address that.
Yeah, Dustin, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if the producers and the cattle feeders are going to pay $1 beef checkoff, then then their wants, needs, and desires to stay in this business need to be represented by the people they pay that to. And this business right now, I mean, like yesterday, we sell 6,400 cattle. You'd have been in the auction block half or more of the time. How many buyers did you have in there actively bidding on cattle yesterday?
You know, Steve, with the actual people in the seats, and then you add the internet activity, anywhere from 30 to 50 on any given draft in any given day of the week. And this happens all across the country every day on thousands of head of cattle a day and hundreds of thousands of cattle a week. We call it transparency. We call it competitive price discovery. And we develop those relationships no different than relationships that have been, facilitated over the last 200 years in our industry.
And when I sit there, I mean, I'm representing multiple people. It depends on the day, but 5 to 10 different entities for the different classes of cattle and the different price levels. And the same people I represent, we're asking to bid against all the other people in the barn, the people on the internet, and establish a price for those cattle. And if you'll look at our market ranges yesterday on any weight class of a 100-pound break, you've got $10 to $15 variances in there for kind, condition, quality. And so I'm asking a 35,000 head private feed yard that's not a formula yard, doesn't have a corporate deal, doesn't have a special grid, to line up against the ones that do, outbid them, so we give our producer the very most that their cattle are worth. And then when it comes times to sell them, the deck's stacked against them. There is no competition. They have one choice. If they don't take that choice, they can face retaliation to market their product. We're seeing that go on right now. A lot of the big corporate yards and the ones that have never stood up, they're not having near as much trouble moving their product as the yards that have tried to market their cattle. They're getting penalized in this time frame. And I don't believe the checkoff that they all pay is coming to defend them at this point.
Amen. And again, I want to reiterate, as Steve just established there, what we feel like is an underlying issue that we want to address. The largest recipients of our contribution leads to our biggest opposition. And let me share that again. That needs to be restated. The two largest recipients of our contributions when it comes to the beef checkoff have remained our largest opposition. It becomes really clear when situations like this occur, when there's such a margin discrepancy between live and boxed prices and so forth. And then you look at the peril of the American rancher, and you look at some of the issues that they're faced with, as Steve mentioned. And we're talking about when we facilitate you, when you drop your livestock off here for us to market, we're talking about all the transparency of this competition that evolves and ultimately in ascertaining value for that product. Why does it stop here? And I guess my question would be, for those of you that may or may not have thought of this previously, we're advocating that continue down the channel. So there is transparency so that the feeder and the end user, and as I mentioned previously, when you take that dollar check off and you take that $1 per head deduction out of every producer's check, was he represented? We feel as livestock marketing professionals, we represented him to the best of our ability. We did it honestly, morally sound. We did it every job. We dotted every I and crossed every T that we felt necessary to market those to the best of our ability. Now, when Steve sends those cattle out of this auction arena and he sends them to an end user as far as somebody who's going to set them up for that final feeding stage, does that individual have that same marketability? Are those tools in front of him that he can utilize? Are those packer buyers going to come sit in his office and have active competition to purchase those? We think not. And we just want to know why. I mean, we want to know this industry was founded on that. Through competitive price discovery. Why does it end here? And that's the reason that we'd like to know if we're going to continue to fund these end users or the people that we're sending this checkoff funds to. Where's their alignment? Are they representing us to the best of their ability that's most beneficial to us We don't believe so. So we need to, again, have your input. We'd like open dialogue because we need to all get together. This is the time to do that. Again, we're facing some issues that in my lifetime I never would have dreamt that we would experience.
I guess I'm going to try to do a little comparison contrast on how we market fats. First is what we do in a feeder cattle auction, to where we have multiple bidders and a competitive environment. Like I say, we had 6,000 cattle yesterday. It was a long day. It's a tough market. Feed yards are all full. And we still separated the wheat from the chaff. I mean, and with price variance in different categories. Let's take the 700 to 800 pound steers. We range from 120 a pound to 142 and a quarter. That's $22 a hundred. That's $150, $60, $70 a head difference from top to bottom. So if we marketed those yesterday like we do fat cattle, we'd have took the top third and we'd set them over to the side. We took the middle third and we'd set them over to the side. And we'd line up, Dustin, and we'd auction the bottom third of the cattle. Bottom third. We'll take what they average. The middle third that we set over here to the side, let's pretend those were the formula cattle. So they're going to get sent to the packer, and none of us know what they end up priced at. The special deals of the corporates that keep the blood on the floor for the major packing plants. The top third is going to get priced off the bottom third that we auctioned. And we're going to give you $40 to $70 a head premium over them off yield and a little extra quality grade, and pretend you've got a premium there. But keep in mind, you're getting a $40 to $50 premium off the bottom third that's being priced. And the bottom third would be likened to the cash market in the fat trade. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I don't ask them because that's not what we do. But if all these producers came in here that spent thousands of dollars on bulls, kept those calves alive in the winter, proud to bring them here and dump them, we're going to sort them and present them. I don't think, if I'd ask them when they unloaded, will you take $40 a head over the worst ones that we're going to sell instead of auctioning these? Would you like me to guarantee you we're going to give you $50 a head over the worst ones? I think they would decline and say, go ahead and auction them cattle and see what they're worth. That's because we have bidders, we have competition, and we stretch these ranges off the desire for quality and the better cattle. We do not do that marketing fat cattle, and nobody represents us to try to get it back to that way.
And I'm going to share and add something to that, as I'd mentioned previously before, about an auctioneer and an order buyer in our relationship. Steve, as I'd mentioned, has those parameters and those variables that have to meet the criteria that his customer has given him. Now, I don't really, as an auctioneer, it doesn't matter to me what his card says. It doesn't matter to me. My job, again, is to maximize for my producer. That's who I'm working for. I'm not working for the order buyer. We're in direct competition, okay? That's the reason that we're coming to you and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is the way you attain true market value. Again, I've been given the number one sign from Steve with the wrong finger a couple times, and I'll tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, it's a compliment. Steve knows it's a compliment, and I take it as a compliment. I'm asking that the end user, the feed yard manager or the operator or the owner, have you ever had one of those do better signs? And because if you have, it's a compliment. It means you're doing your job. You're maximizing the ability for yourself and your producer to realize the true market value of those cattle. And that's all we're asking. It's transparent. All order buyers and auctioneers, whatever product we're marketing, we love that competition. Do we love and respect each other? Absolutely we do. It's reciprocal. They know the job that I have. I know the job that they have. We do our very best every hour of every day to make certain that in the end, the producer has to be taken care of. The value has to be there. You want to know the reasons why? You take the producer out of the equation, where are all of us at that particular point in time? Then it becomes an integrated market. We're here fighting against that. And I guess that's, again, one of the main reasons that we want to start this platform and build this foundation to share with you, some of you which may or may not be privy to what a livestock market services, how they serve their customer, how an auctioneer and an order buyer work hand in hand to establish that value. Steve and I would like to know why that doesn't continue all the way up through the chain.
Yeah, and you don't have to be adversaries in everyday life and be adversaries in the auction barn. We have a wonderful buying crowd, and we line up every week and battle each other. None of us lay down. You know, I want to stop everybody from getting one if they're one I can sell and my customer alike, and I'm going to bid the very most I can to complete that service. But let family tragedy hit or something bad happen to one of us. I mean, we all respect each other. We love each other and we care about each other. I mean, I just recently got hurt, and everybody I line up against every week in battle, and I try to keep them from getting one and vice versa, are the ones that blew my phone up wanting to know how I was. And that's the way it is. You know, we are in competition, and we are trying to keep the other one from doing business that day. But at the end of the day, we respect each other. We want each other to succeed, and we care about each other's well-being. And you know, the private cattle feeder, farmer feeder, so on and so forth has lost that competition for their product when they go to sell it, and lost those people that communicate and get along and understand some days it's your day, some day it's not. You don't win every day. And what we've done, we've let 4 people control 85% of the market, and they've decided they're going to win every day. What we need is our checkoff funds to go to somebody that's going to tell them every day is not your day. Some days are the American cattleman's day.
And I want to expand on something that Steve says a lot, and this is something that's true to his core. It's about relationships. The livestock, the ag industry in general, over the last several hundred years, it's about building friendships, establishing relationships. It's about the individual next door, being compassionate. There are none of us as livestock producers that want to be confrontational. We want to live in a free economic area, in a free country, to where we know that the fruits of our labor are going to be sustainable for our children and our grandchildren and so on and so forth. When you look at what's being presented to us in the form that it's being presented to us, it really puts things into perspective. We, as livestock producers, need to understand the power in the number and the sheer volume. When you talk about acres of land, when you talk about cows across this country, when you talk about your sweat equity as a livestock producer, as a rancher, there's a powerful voice that needs to be tapped into. And folks, let's be honest. We have a little passivity to us where we have allowed other people to speak on our behalf. We, again, as I previously mentioned, we're not real confrontational, and that's good. That's the way our country was founded as far as our industry is concerned. But I think it's time now that we all pull together. Our voice is powerful as one. You all raise the most genetically superior livestock in the world. We have the great. Our environmental footprint is less than it's ever been. We're stewards of our land. We have a powerful entity to tap into. Let's all aggressively pursue this. Let's move forward and say, you know, here's the deal. We've been pushed around long enough. Steve has always said, hey guys, as livestock producers, you need to step up and say, hey, we're going to work together. But all these issues that we're facing that are out of our control, but yet we're letting a minority group of individuals speak for a majority of the producers, it's time we end that. And that's, again, why we're here. We believe that the funds that we're submitting, that we're contributing to this for our behalf, are being mismanaged and misused. Our voice is not being heard. And I had some folks that I was in discussion with when it came to the checkoff and where this money was traveling and how it was best representing me and my peers. And I had a discussion with them, and they showed me a center page ad in the Sports Illustrated, and it had a 9-inch fillet, and it was a beautiful picture. But I stopped for a second, and as a cow-calf producer, I had to reevaluate that, and I said, well, wait a minute. The person who's getting the most benefit out of that, how many ever thousands of dollars that ad cost, was not me as a cow-calf producer. It was the end the packer who basically sold that particular product to the retail side of it, he was the one getting the most benefit out of that ad. And ironically, folks, he was the one entity that wasn't paying into the checkoff. I, as a cow-calf producer, my cattle were marketed through a livestock marketing facility or a seed stock operation. They were presented to order buyers such as Steve. My benefit came out of his evaluation of my product. I paid him for that. I paid a commission. That's the disconnect. And we feel like now, more than ever, it's time to address that, move forward as an industry together. And I think it'll be staggering to see the momentum that we can create and some of the changes I think that we can ask for.
I guess that leads into quit beating around the bush. As far as I'm concerned, we need to terminate the checkoff as it is. At that point, if we got that done, then we find out what the producers of America want to do with that dollar a head to represent them. I believe that if the packers and the large corporate feeders want the NCBA to represent them, they can pay their own way. I think the producers of the United States need that checkoff to go somewhere to fight for them or not be paying it, one or the other. So we're going to come with a petition and legal petition and protest to defund the checkoff. If the producers are going to pay $1 a head, I think that needs to be working for them, and I believe it's not. We're allowing 4 packers to bring imported beef that the people that produce that have a lower cost of production. They don't have to follow the regulation we do. They don't have the battles that we do, and that checkoff needs to be working to protect them from those kind of price depression tactics by the packers. They're allowed to do that, and we're not allowed to differentiate our product from theirs. And I think that's wholeheartedly wrong. I'm not saying producers of this country do not need funds to be working for them as a united group, but it needs to be as producers, not as processors. And right now, that's working for processors. As you can see, in the producer's retail dollar has shrunk consistently for the last decade. And that's got to quit, or they're not going to be here to produce the wholesome product that I think Americans want.
And again, in closing, we come to you again to open dialogue. We ask for your input. We ask for your questions. We would love in the next several weeks, as we really start to build this foundation to create some traction to move forward. We want everybody's input. It's going to, as I previously mentioned, it's going to take all of us to come up with a plan that's comprehensive. It also represents all of us. And I think that's what we've been missing over the last many years. Again, we raise a genetically superior product. We're feeding the world. The world loves it. We need to be proud of what we do. We need to realize that God's given us a gift. Let's move forward and let's all work together and accomplish some of the goals to make sure, as I've mentioned, that our future generations have the same opportunities. So in the next week or two, as Steve had mentioned, we're going to get with you to the best of our ability. We're going to start to open those dialogues up, those channels of communication, and we're going to meet this head on. And it's going to take all of us. So I do want all of you to know that we love the American producer. We're part of you. We're peers. We feel there's no better opportunity than now to get our message out. The American consumer, I think, has been they've had an eye-opening experience, and they're wanting to know as well how their protein sources get to the retail side of it. So those are some issues that I think are going to come down the pike. And again, God bless you all, and we appreciate the opportunity. And I'll let Steve close, but any questions that you have, we look forward to it.
I want everybody to have a good Memorial weekend and remember what it's about. And I want to assure you of this, that we don't have all the answers. We just know that the producer's not getting represented correctly. And we want the input. We want to come up with a better conclusion at the end, and we want to work towards that. But I will assure you of this. We do not think everybody out there that does this every day for a living trusts us with their product that we work our ass off for has nothing but bad ideas. And I think the checkoff funds need to be out of the hands of people that think they're the only ones with the good idea. Again, have a good Memorial Day weekend. Dustin,
Thank you
thanks
all.
for your help.
Absolutely.